still asking you, what are those stories that interest you the most?
That's a good one. Okay. I think just about almost anything, because I do consume information, but not in genres or not in specific topics or anything like that. I just assume almost everything, okay, that comes across my way, and that means almost everything interests me. It's almost like music. You know how you listen to music and you're like, I'm not the type that listens to a specific genre, but I'm the type that if it sounds good, and it's good music.
Yeah, well, but you still have favorite stories, you know, you pick up and you're like, oh yeah, this really got me.
Okay, maybe break down the like what kind would you say? Okay, what kind of stories?
In the media, the stories that interest me. Elon Musk taking over Twitter for personal interests. He apparently realized that at some point they might stop him from having free speech because they've been doing that. And we are also seeing that happen here. I think right now I just left my timeline and I saw Next Media boss telling one of his employees to be more sympathetic about something, about I think the death of the speaker and something like
empathy.
that.
Yeah.
But then that also counts because how we view public figures is different. My opinion on the speaker is very different from your opinion on the speaker.
That's true.
That reminds me when Kawesi died, that guy who was working in police, I think. But because at some point I was working with FDC, my partner Kenneth, and this guy put a gun on my partner. So when he died, I said, oh fuck, this guy's died. And the same backlash came back to me. But I remember because the memory I have of him was him doing that. And that to me was bad. And I was dealing with that. And that's what informed my feelings. That then led me to tweet something like that. So I'd appreciate and also see where people like Simon were coming from when they put out their tweets. Because again, public figures are two-faced people. They live two personalities.
Yeah.
They're good to the people that know them. I can't take that away from them. They're good people like everyone else, but we still view them from some other perspective in life. So those are stories that interest me.
Okay. That sounds very, very narrowed down, like very narrowed down to a specific thing. You're not saying it's space that interests me, you're not saying it's politics, but you're narrowing it down to specific stories.
Big stories. Big stories.
Big stories that are making
big stories like free speech.
You could say so. You could say that it's also a human interest story. So any human interest stories do interest you because they're made for you.
Yeah.
They're made to pick your attention, get you to engage with them. So almost just about anything from social justice to politics to relationships to career to mentorship. All these things interest me because there's something that either I relate to or there's something that I pick from them. So yeah, just about almost anything.
This is a part where you now tell us about yourself. So now it informs my whole conversation. Moving on. Let me understand you, Faiza.
Okay. Who is Faiza? That's a very interesting question because I think that with every year I evolve and I change and there's this whole new me that I get to appreciate every year. But Faiza is a media personality who currently works on radio at XFM. I'm also a writer. I like to add that now to my bio simply because I published a few stories here and there. So I get excited when I add it there. Yes, I'm a digital influencer. I've worked with a number of brands and I'm a host. I'm also a baker. That is something I proudly also add to my bio from last year, I think, because I professionally started doing it, like professionally selling to people and letting them taste the goodness from my kitchen. So those are the few things. The other things, I'm a very loving, compassionate, friendly person, very social. Yeah.
Loving, compassionate. Have you found a companion?
No.
Yeah, but that's just that.
Yeah.
Quite a CV. Is it CV?
Mm-hmm.
And have you grown up wanting to work on radio? Is it like something you wanted to be part of?
Yeah. Yes. For me, radio wasn't just something that you look at it and you say maybe it's cool. Okay. For me, radio was about platforms. It was about having conversations that were impactful. And at the time when I actually wanted to start working on radio was when I was still a teenager. But at the time I was really scared. I mean, I thought my voice wasn't made for radio, and I thought I wasn't like a typical radio personality. You know, you have radio personalities or personalities that you watch that are in a certain sector that you want to be in. And when you look at them and you look at yourself like,
How would you define the impact of radio? Conversations. What conversations are? Okay, could be politics. Let's look at your show, the morning show. How is it impactful?
So first of all, we get to have conversations out there, and we get to give a platform. The biggest or the main thing about radio is that you create a platform for people to share and have conversations about things that are affecting them or things that are happening across the world. So that's one of the main things that come with radio, okay? So you give an open, like it's like an open space for people to share their thoughts, share their opinions, what they think would work or what wouldn't work. And that alone is huge, because to give a platform, a voice to people is what makes media so big, okay?
I hosted a friend of mine, Bush Baby, legend in radio. I think we've grown up all on radio, on his radio, like listening to him on radio. And he told me that radio people have to make up stories, because then they have to keep going. Like they wake up in the morning, it's not happened. The love stories we've listened to, the attachment, it's fiction. It's okay, some of it probably happens, but some of it doesn't happen, and I'm like, what? I've grown up on a lie. Is life this bad?
I will agree that yes. When it comes to when you take the current affairs away, because those are stories that are factual and are happening, and those is probably what makes the biggest part of radio. Now, when you look at probably things like relationships, either these are already life experiences that people have experienced, and maybe on radio they just pack them into a nice story and say, Karen did this. What do you guys think about it? But for me, I've never actually built up a fake story in my entire radio career. No, I haven't. I do have a smart way of picking stories that are happening across the world.
How do you pick your stories?
And bring them back home.
How do you pick your stories? How do you pick a story that's
how I curate my content is in two ways more likely. So I have lists. Okay, I organize my content in lists on both social media and mainstream media. Okay, so I have lists that are segmented in newspapers, top media organizations, and then of course social media. So those lists I kind of scroll through them, or go through them to see what is happening across the world, what would interest my audience, and also what is relevant to my audience. Okay, and I also follow trending conversations that are happening across social media, across mainstream media, and then it's important that you keep updated with all kinds of media, mostly mainstream and social media currently right now. So I go through all of that in a very organized way, basing on my list, and then I pick out content that is relevant for my audience.
How do you understand your audience? Is it because let me just broaden that for you. See, now for me, my podcast, we host it 2 people, but then I produce the whole podcast.
Yeah.
I put together conversations even for my other co-host. So what happens is with these conversations, I understand who my co-host is. I understand where their passion is, their interests. Yeah. And I then look for a guest who probably shares the same interests.
Okay.
Whose interests align with his at some point, that when they have the conversation, it will be interesting to me. I don't care whether he will find it interesting, but I know it will be a big conversation, because then I trust the host to direct the conversation.
Okay.
It's such a big perspective. So then it's really just about me. It's now that the numbers have come up, and I'm trying to understand the numbers and who's watching, the youth, the age groups, and all that stuff, that I want to now try and curate according to that. But it's always been about what I find interesting. That's what
what you project onto your audience. That's quite interesting. But for us, it's a different thing. Radio its branding is what more or less directs its audience. So decides the branding and the content is what speaks to an audience, or what audience we want to attract, or what kind of people we want to tune in. Okay, so radio is really about how you appear to people. Okay, and for us at XFM, we have the sound and the look of a youthful feel for young people. Okay, and our content is for young people. What do you mean
the look? People like you hosting?
Yes, it could be like me. Yeah. It has to be a full package. You have to think about the people who actually, because your radio presenters are the face of a media house. TV presenters are the face of a media house. So yes, your presenters have to look and sound like the radio. And on top of that, the sound of the music, the content itself has to actually appeal to a specific audience. You can't be all over the place. You have to decide who you're talking to. If it's
that reminds me, there's that day we were shooting Salute the DJ, and Push Baby said, "You don't deserve to be on Ugandan radio. That Ugandan radio should be very careful because Kenyan radio will have to come and take you out. Kenya's economy is bigger." It means he was so shocked because we listened into your show for the time I was in studio. I was like, oh, this doesn't sound actually Ugandan. Do you think you don't sound Ugandan on radio?
I think I do sound Ugandan because I've very well managed to connect with my Ugandan audience. We've managed to get to a point whereby people actually do connect with me. They talk to me. They love what I do. So I have to say,
but you're a kind, loving person. First thought when someone meets you, that's what they read of.
Yes.
That could be the thing, but the sound. Have you listened to Kenyan radio? To the women on Kenyan radio?
Not so much.
Have you tried?
Not so much.
And it informs that impulse thinking Bush came up with, like she has to be on Kenyan radio. They're going to take her as a must. Would you go?
Definitely. I mean, I'm someone who's no, I'm not kidding, guys. If the opportunity did come up and a Kenyan media organization reached out to me, I would certainly be willing for two main reasons. One, career growth, because that would mean that I'm going one step, on the ladder, and two, it would be a whole different world, a whole different experience. And let's just be honest, guys, if you are in media or any other world, you want to experience new stuff every single day. So very much I would.
What new stuff are you working on besides as an influencer? Actually, what new stuff into content creating are you up to?
Okay, so
what do you want to do? We can execute ideas. That's one other thing I do.
Okay, that's a very nice speech. This year I decided to go a lot more visual. Because I have been an influencer now for over a year, and I started it as a fun thing because I realized people were being paid money, and I said, hey, people are being paid money. Let me get online and start making that money. And I have to say, a year later, it has just been amazing. It's been a journey of growth. So many things have happened that even I never expected. So when I got to a point where I did sit down and say that, you know what, I have to start making this a serious thing. I have to look at it as a career, not just like a hobby or something fun that I do that makes me money as well. So this year I decided to go a little bit more visual and not just talk about brands or anything, but make sure that I do build conversations just like yourself or have impact somewhere here and there. But
do you have a podcast?
I don't have a podcast.
Do you want to have a podcast? Do you want to have a podcast?
I don't think so.
Will they allow you to have a podcast?
Yeah, if I wanted it, definitely. But I don't want my own podcast. And you're not the first person that have actually asked me about having my own podcast, but I don't think I want to have my own podcast. I am going via the direction of a YouTube channel. So it's something that is in the works right now, and it encompasses something that I really, really love so much, which is food.
All right.
Yeah. So it's something that's coming up. We're working on everything. It's in the pipeline. Yeah.
A cook show.
Something like that, but very much on the vlog side. So it will be something.
You love food?
Very much.
You've been
Everyone
to
does.
culinary school?
No, I haven't.
YouTube?
So I grew up in a family of cooks. Okay, both male and female. We all cook. So I have to say my love for food, my love for experiencing different culinary dishes started from home, okay? And as I grew up, I formed also a professional interest in it. Yeah, so that's why I'm now a baker, a professional baker, and it's been good.
Is your bread in the supermarkets? I can go out.
No, not just yet. Everything is on order.
Okay. What do you bake?
So I do bake cakes, but my main niche is cupcakes. And
do you bake wheat cakes?
No, I don't. And it's crazy. I find it very crazy when a client asks me that. I ask them, what? I ask them, how do you even bake wheat cake?
You get the wheat, grind it, get the oil out of it, add it to the flour, and put it in a cake.
You're now teaching me because I didn't know that.
You should, because that's what I
want. Baking is a whole science. You do one thing wrong, everything goes wrong. So if I've never used something, I'm a bit worried about incorporating it.
Yeah. Okay. But you get a lot of people asking for wheat cake.
not a lot of people, but I've gotten a few people do definitely ask me about weed cakes.
Mostly because where the market is in house parties where you like get an order for cake, since you're not like really doing it on a daily.
No, I do get people from all walks of life, from offices, from parties, ordinary.
Do you go with cakes to office for your show, then sell it?
No, I don't.
I used to do the same thing when I was still employed. I used to do that with juice. I had a juice brand. So what I used to do is to make the juice in hostel. I used to sleep in Olympia at some point. Make the juice in hostel, then go to Jumia. I was working for African Internet Group as head order management at some point. So yeah, I still had my juice. Still had the most orders at some point.
That's nice.
Still, I think up to date, still has to be the most selling product according to their stats with numbers, because in time they are just opened up that
for me,
stuff matters.
I think for me, there's a lot that's happening personally for me. There's a lot that I do at a time. I don't do baking on a full scale kind of situation. So what I do is that if someone orders, then I make for them. They order and I make. But I'm hoping, of course, to open up like an official kitchen or an official store in the future. But right now, I'm taking on what I can chew right now. Yeah.
Speaking of which, I had forgotten and just forgotten that you just lost your dad.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
It's okay, life happens.
When you just mentioned you have a lot going on, then my mind just went back to that tweet.
Yeah.
How is that like? How are you handling that?
It's so many people ask me this, and I often don't have a direct answer to it, because you don't really quite know how to explain the feeling, because it's been only, I think, 3 weeks ever since I lost my dad, and it's been hard. It really, really has been hard.
But you're still doing the radio show?
Yeah.
You're like off.
I am. I took 2 weeks off after my dad died, and I went back afterwards because work is a good distraction. And
Totally agree. I think I am very distracted in work when I have shit going on in my life, and it ends up just...
Yeah, for me it wasn't easy. I mean, it's just that my dad, I wasn't living with my dad when he died, and he wasn't living with him. He and my mom separated a while back while we were kids, so we didn't see much of him. But of course, he would visit every now and then. We didn't have that much of a very close relationship where we see each other every day, but I was still close to my dad. And when he got very sick, we were very scared. And when he passed on, it was so hard to believe, because it happened in a matter of 3 weeks. And in a matter of 3 weeks, it just seemed so crazy. I mean, till today, it's kind of hard to accept, that he died. And I think sometimes one of the hardest things that I deal with is that oftentimes when I go home, I sit down and I wish I'd done more, and I think about all the things that I could have done better to prevent, him dying, because
Do you think you could have done anything better to prevent him from dying?
I'm of the philosophy that when death has come, it's there. Like, everyone has their time, and if it's your time, it's your time. But it's still something so hard, because in his very last moments, me and my mom had a huge argument about where to take him for treatment, and we kind of delayed to actually take him for his next treatment, especially when he had started deteriorating, because my mom wanted him to see a specialist, and I was like, no, let's take him back to where he was, because he was getting better. My mom said, no, we have to go to see a specialist, because if he's starting to deteriorate again, then we shouldn't take him back there. And he passed on in his way to the hospital when the specialist was at the hospital. So we had initially that whole argument at the start, and everyone thought I was blaming my mom, but I wasn't. She was trying her best. Everyone was trying their best, but every now and then, when you go back home, you retreat to your space, and then you wonder, could have done more, could have done something different that could have helped him, maybe eased his suffering.
Do you use music to get away, to run away from these thoughts? If I'm in your position, I'll probably smoke a lot of weed, because then the weed gives you that short-term memory loss that then helps you to just try and forget what you want to forget.
Well, I don't smoke weed, so
and I'm not asking you to, but what do you then? How do you deal with
or how I normally deal with things. So I have two ways that I deal with issues that are bothering me. One, I either distract myself with my work because it's normally very consuming. The other way that I go about the situation is that I deal with it head on. You know, this I learned from therapy that, you know, sometimes you just have to allow the thoughts and feel them, process them.
You've gone to therapy classes?
Yeah, I have gone to therapy.
Relationships?
Yes.
The one time I was at therapy with a woman, I was just lying to this therapist about it, so I don't believe in therapy. But I have therapists coming on.
Therapy doesn't work if you lie. You have to be really
But that's
honest.
the thing, the fact that I can lie.
Well, it's like, that means it's like going to school and you're cheating yourself. You're cheating yourself.
If I had to pass exams,
You
people
paid
would
for
go
a
to cheat
session.
anyway and cheat the whole time.
You paid for a therapy session quite expensively, I might add. And then if you don't allow yourself to actually work through properly.
Look, even when I did, like, I felt like whatever she was telling us, we have tried to do, we have tried to read in movies, we have seen people work it out on Netflix, and it did, like, I know, it's still...
The therapy was definitely good for me.
Because then I thought it would just give me the positive results. But yeah.
Maybe everyone experiences it differently, but it was a very good experience for me. For when my dad passed on, I didn't think I needed therapy because at the time we had a supportive family, you know, system and network. Everyone was sharing. My friends, my close friends were there for me at that time. My family was there for me at that time. Relationships are a different thing. You probably don't even talk about your relationship issues with everyone.
Yeah.
So you don't have everyone to run to. And sometimes you just want a stranger to listen to your problems and let them give you sound analysis of what they think is happening. Yeah.
Do you have relationship problems too now?
No. I'm not dating, so luckily enough, I don't go to bed worried about anything.
Don't you think now that would be the ideal time to have been dating? Now you'd have a male figure be there, probably would be something.
Maybe.
Do you think about it?
Maybe.
In that way? When you go back to your bed and you look up, you're like...
To talk to someone. Yeah. The idea of dating is actually nice. You could love the idea of dating.
I got tired of eating food.
But you just maybe are not ready to actually get into a real relationship. But you could love the idea of dating. And for me, relationships are things you get into natural. I prefer them naturally. Okay, like you just talk to someone and you eventually get there. Yeah. Okay,
we were still talking about your show.
Yeah.
You do your show with a DJ?
Yes, DJ CC.
Your show is supposed to be like a musical show, right?
Not really.
Morning show. What's the idea of a typical morning show?
We do play a lot of music, first of all, because one of the things that defines XFM is that we keep more music and
today's hits music, right?
Yeah, today's hit music. That is the most requested music out there. But also we make sure that for our target audience, the way they consume content is different from the way other radio stations probably have their audience consume content. Ours prefer more music and less talk, and that's what we do. So our conversations are snippets instead of 10 minutes dragged out conversations. We start. We make sure we basically make it as engaging as possible, but not make it a very dragged out conversation. So for art, we tackle almost everything from mainstream information that you read about, that is politics, entertainment, human interest stories, social justice stories.
How do you plan your typical daily show? How do you plan it?
Yeah. So we have a prep. We have a prep process that is done before each and every show. Okay. So first of all, after every show, we sit and discuss how that show went and what.
After every show.
Yes, and what could have been done differently. What could have been, what else could we do? And in that process, we also prep for the next show. So what I do is that we have a prep that encompasses the 4 hours of the show, and each hour has a segment lined out, or rather an outflow of that hour. So we plan for each and every hour, and each and every hour has its own different kind of content, and that's how we go about it.
Well, how long is the show?
It's 4 hours. Yeah.
I always thought those 4 hours, you come in, you do your 4 hours, and just run away and come back tomorrow, do your 4 hours. So I always thought to be a radio presenter, you have those 4 hours you do for the show, then you can go on I was thinking if I could get another job in an organization, like start from at 10 and do, but you don't have that time. The show looks like it eats up your whole day.
No, it actually doesn't. What I love about media, especially if you're an on-air personality, is that it's very, very flexible, extremely flexible. The prepping process doesn't mean that you have to be within studio. It's the review session that can be done within studio, because that's immediately after your show. You sit down and you discuss and you say, okay, and that doesn't even take so much. It can be 30 minutes, okay? The prep process can be done even later on in the evening, because then you're still waiting for fresh information, because there's news that's coming out each and every hour, each and every minute, so you want to get the latest as well, okay? So you could definitely leave radio at 10, go to your job, maybe till 5, if you have an 8 to 5 kind of job, till 5, then when you get off 5, you work on the prep process for the next show, and then, you chill out for the rest of the day, probably.
Oh, interesting. How much of your own personal music taste informs the show? Because you also do the show with a DJ, and looks like he has to do all the music selection. Is your music taste part of what he plays?
Oh yeah, most definitely. One of the things that makes a radio station, gives it identity and sound, is the people also on it, on air personalities. We are the typical listeners of XFM as well. When I get off air, I can listen to XFM and enjoy it.
That's right. I'm actually the biggest fan of this podcast because I have to listen to it.
Yes. So you're also the typical listener of the radio station where you work, okay? That means that whatever interests you probably also interests your typical audience as well, or your average listener out there. So the music that my listeners love is also the music that I find myself loving, especially, for example, today is Thursday.
Yeah.
So now I'm listening to Throwback. Their Throwback Thursday is my kind of Throwback Thursday. So I enjoy even TXR later in the evening. And when it comes to our music selection, of course, we have a music policy. This is our music. This for our audience is the kind of music they like. There's a way that music is programmed and lined out. So even all our DJs are fed into that information. They are fully aware of what our audience looks like, what kind of music they enjoy, and the station ID, which is today's music. Yeah, so it's the most requested music out there.
You said your show also encompasses of social events that are happening?
Oh yeah.
So you're telling people about things like what's happening in Ukraine and Russia?
Yes. It could, as long as it's anything that interests our audience and is of relevance. Politics.
Is it just politics? Because then it has the business side, the economy, the food, the agriculture.
Yes, it has a trickle-down effect, most definitely. And you see, for us now, our audience, that's where you come in, that you show them the trickle-down effect of a situation that's happening that otherwise they wouldn't care about. Because if they were watching, Ukraine and Russia on TV, they'll be like, okay, we see those guys running, and they move on. But when you explain how the trickle-down effect of such situations,
it goes up to the fuel,
for example, fuel, and you tell them whatever is happening there, how it affects the economy back at home. Now that's why you bring relevance to radio, and you help people make sense of certain situations. That's what TV and radio does. You get a lot of information, you make sense out of it, and you make sure it's relevant to your target audience and why they should care.
Have you listened to Canary Montgomery News?
Oh yeah.
Do you think you sound like him somehow?
No, I don't think so. We don't sound alike.
The female version of...
No, we don't sound alike. No, I don't think so.
I have him on my podcast, and you somehow sound the same.
No, I don't think we sound alike. Kind of have hung out at a couple of events, but no, I don't think we sound alike. Do we? No.
At a couple of events.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that just came in because I listened to you speak over and over. But then, as getting the voice, I do not know if it's just the fact that the voice stayed in my mind the day I was in the radio show, or it's because Canary's podcast comes back. But yeah, that agriculture is affected, and that's really important. And people like you who have a lot of airplay should be the ones at the forefront of things like that.
So current affairs is something that's very huge, especially on the morning radio, because
and it's the morning. It's when I'm active. It's when I want to read.
Radio morning shows set the pace for the rest of the day. Okay, and that's also what entertains or keeps people hooked on for the rest of the day. So current affairs does take a huge chunk of morning radio because people want to know what's happening while they were sleeping, what transpired, and also how is it relevant to them, because you don't just want to tell them that, okay, this thing happened while you guys were asleep, but they want to know why is it interesting, why should they actually care. And like I said, that's the core of media, is to make people understand why certain things are of importance to them. Just as reporting, it's not just about reporting what's happening, but why you should actually also care.
In an era that has a lot of information, there's actually an information overload. Do you think radio is genuinely still relevant?
Oh yeah, very much so. Very, very. I keep seeing people on social media say things like CG podcast, no shade to you.
Yeah, I remember we were trying to have that conversation.
Spaces, overtaking radio.
Yeah, because look, Kamshenga has about 1,000 people on his Space 360 Meta.
Do you know how many people listen to radio?
How many?
So many. First of all,
are they?
Let me
really?
Let's when you break down the statistics,
yeah.
and I don't have the current one, but when you break down the statistics,
you have an idea.
Here's the thing: the people that actually have access to internet don't exceed even 10 million, I think, in Uganda, and we have over 40 million people.
Okay.
A population.
44, right? 45.
Yes, yeah. And you have more than 10 people can access social media. How do you think the other 30 or 35 access their information? They access it via radio.
But okay.
And you see, it's even harder for someone to get a TV than it is to get a radio, a small radio. So radio.
So what does that then mean to you?
Radio remains one of the most widely consumed medium of information till today in Uganda and even across the world.
What does this mean to you?
What does that mean for that? For radio right now, we just have to evolve. Okay? And that means that we have to evolve and keep on changing and embracing or taking in what is new. And that means that also taking over podcasts. If you notice that nowadays a lot of radio stations have podcasts. Even XFM has podcasts. Because
which one is XFM?
We have a podcast for XFM, and we've shared so many of our stories, adapted also from some of our biggest stories in the papers as well.
You said, why didn't you want to do your own personal podcast? Because then, okay, we're going to go into that conversation.
Yeah. So we just adapt and encompass, taking what's happening, look at the trends, look at what's changing, and we take in that. Okay, it's about adaptation. Radio it's just like any other medium. It just adapts and takes in the change and evolves with it. But it's not a medium that's about to be wiped out anytime soon, at least not for a really good amount of time, or at least for a couple of decades to come. That's just my opinion, and it is very subject to debate.
You're censored on radio on what you should and shouldn't say.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, radio or any medium of mass communication in Uganda is regulated and censored. Yes.
And do you think the censorship is fair? Do you think it should be?
To some extent, yes. Because you see, what UCC aims to do is protect the rights of the consumer. Okay? It's to protect you who's listening to us and ensure that the information you're getting is correct, it's factual, and it is of relevance to you. Okay? Now, so what UCC does is mainly to ensure that they are protecting the rights of you, the consumer, that the information you're getting is factual, and it's very, very important for you. And it's the information that you need, not only the information that you want, but it is the information that you need. So regulation.
Is that so?
Yes.
The information that I need, when there's a paycheck behind the information that is everything you say, as looking at your plan, everything you say has probably a sponsor on top, that this one is brought to you by this person. So it's an agenda. At the end of the day, it's business.
Media is also a business.
And government is like the biggest investor into any media, private or big. Or XFM.
By all means.
Yeah.
By all means,
so
media is a
it
business.
is not the information that I need. It is information that is controlled, that they want me to listen to. And this is why I think this era of podcasts could then be different and better. Because to me here, you can come, we talk about weed. And I'm going to publish to what peacock.co.uk, also publish on YouTube, which cannot really be under the control of UCC. So at the end of the day, I mean, this is why Elon Musk is buying into Twitter, so that we can have the freedom to really be just that. People expressing their emotions, people who are living in moments and are not curtailed to just different agendas. Because a lot of people listen to you, you contribute to who they put in power. Yeah, you see the effect.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people again listen to you, and you have to run a lot of these ads and a lot of some programs, and because you own a detailed and there has to be a plan for it to work. If you are a big part on how we develop as a country or not, in some abstract way, it might not really be clear, but it's behind the doors, and media is really, really important. That's no, I don't think it's important. I think it's really, really. It is important. People.
Media does set an agenda, of course, by all means. But would you say that agenda is harmful to you? Is going to cause a harm to you?
Probably, if I think that's the same agenda as to why I have the same president for since I was born or not. If it is the same agenda, it means that it's hurting me directly. Okay. Yeah.
Well, that's something that again is subject to debate. I mean, I wouldn't say that media is perfect, and I wouldn't say that media is without compromise, or media is.
What do you think about free speech in general? Like, do you think we are supposed to have free speech?
Oh yeah, I think everyone should definitely have the right to be able to say what they want to say, but also be able to bear the responsibility of what they say. Okay.
How so?
For example, if you are, and I'm probably going to receive a lot of shit for this, but free speech is being able to say what you say, but you should be able to bear the responsibility of what you say. For example, if I say, Mark, that you killed someone, that's free speech, right? But I'm accusing you of a crime. How would you feel about that? Wouldn't you want me to take responsibility for what I've said?
Speaking of killing people, I'm not going to mention names, but there's a story that has always run of some girl that lost her life, rest in peace, and the guy they attached to for killing the girl actually says, because I've had a conversation with the guy, he's on hiding because he simply can't get arrested. The last time he was arrested, he was at CPS and he was treated the very worst. They literally were throwing him up and down the stairs, so it was affecting his mental health. So luckily enough, he's in a position where the parents can afford to hide his identity wherever, in whatever part of the world it's happening. But because again, social media had put it out there, people think justice can just be through tweets and whatnot. No one has actual. It's like those stories on rape, where someone comes out, you see, they raped me, rightfully so. It's a bad act. But then, because people think they have so much power, and this is maybe where the censorship could help, but still no, still free speech. I'm an advocate for free speech. I believe that people should express. So what happens is it blows up, but no one can understand the story because everyone is just too quick to judge.
Yeah.
The first instance they get, I even now forget where this was from, but something like that. Fuck, I forget how I wanted to connect it to what you're telling me.
I was telling you that free speech is good, and it's something that we should all advocate for. It is something that should be definitely right, and it's all right. But again, we must be willing to take responsibility for what we say.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why I gave you an example that if you say that, if you accuse me of something, okay, and that's why I'm able to take you to court, because you must be willing to take up the responsibility or the weight of what you've said out there.
Have you been accused of anything on social media before?
There was a time when I thought someone was accusing me of something, but they retracted that.
They were saying you stole someone's money?
No. Luckily enough, I've never been caught up in such conversations. There was a time someone accused me of making them lose out on a job opportunity, but then eventually they said it wasn't me. They deleted it and said it wasn't. They weren't meaning me. They were meaning someone else.
Did you feel like you wanted to sue them for that?
Yes, I wanted them to take the full responsibility of what they were saying, because you are you putting my reputation at stake, and that's something that for me is very huge. It's one of the things that I value so much. So for you to have that, to put that reputation at stake by saying that I could have made you lose out on an opportunity, I don't know, just because maybe I'm in a certain organization is something not to be taken lightly. So I wanted that person to be able to take up responsibility for what they say, stand by what they have said, and ensure that they can prove what they have said. Because if I see that it's a lie, I should be able to defend myself, right? So yeah, you can say whatever you want, but be ready to take responsibility for what you say out there.
How is it like working for a big major house like Vision Group? Like in general, because when we were growing up, it was mostly, would feel like it's glitz and glamour. I feel like, yeah, I want to be there. I I want to be on screens, I want to be behind the lights. Until you get there and you're like, nah, do I really want this the rest of my life? Do you get those moments?
Oh yeah, I mean, trust me, anyone who actually wants to join media does first look at the glitz and glamour side of it, and that part does exist.
Do you feel like you have made it when you are presenting? I've seen you MC Big Show. What a Pulse event? Yeah. How do you feel when you're on top of stage? Do you feel like Lupe Fiasco or Rionga and you're like, yeah, I'm a superstar? Rionga is back there in the studio.
I take in those moments and I'm very, very grateful for that growth. But I'm always looking at the next thing. I'm a very career-oriented person. So for me, I'm always looking at the next step of growth. And in those moments, I am very, very grateful for them. But I don't let my mind loop around them only and say, okay, this is it. Because there's another step ahead. So you look at what's coming next. When you look at media, there is the glitz and glamour of it, yes, the one that excites people, the one where there are fans and people always DMing you, people who are always saying this about you.
People are always DMing you?
Yes, people, you in the limelight, there's that's amazing on its own, but media is actually real hard work. It's real
Do you reply to all these DMs? How do you even now select that? Okay, this guy is probably serious. Today someone is calling me to a podcast. Let me reply this one.
No, I reply to as many as possible. I'm a very, typical normal person out there. So when people DM me, I reply and just welcome their love, because by the time someone actually gets their phone, gets their phone like this and says, okay, let me text her and tell her that I listened to you this morning and you said this and this and this and this and I connected or related to it. By the time someone does that, you really should be able to, respond, and you should be able to show them that I see you and I appreciate that you actually took your time to not only reach out but listen to me. I think it's really huge for me. So radio is actually work. It's real work, and media is actual work that people don't see. Okay, we're up by 4. You're in studio by 5 something. Okay, there's prepping. You have to keep up with information. On top of that, you're always planning and trying to grow not only your listenership, but try to push whatever you're doing to the next level. So it's actual work. When people come down to see it, there's real work that's involved. It's not just the glitz and glamour. When I get on air and I'm talking and people are enjoying, that information has taken me time to actually, probably I spent 2 hours trying to work out what I'm going to say on the air, trying to find context to it. And people think you just randomly came up with the information. It's work.
Do you, how do you switch, move from radio to TV? Do you want to be on TV as well?
I've done TV for some time, and
what show?
Occasionally. So I was doing E-News on Urban some time back, but I'm off TV right now and I'm doing strictly radio. But yeah, I wouldn't mind getting back on TV in the future.
Okay. Interesting. Let's talk about you now, Faiza. Your personal life. What motivates you as a person? What's your normal day like?
My normal day.
Are you strong enough to? You just lost your dad. I don't know how it is like to lose a parent, but I lost my mom when I was 4 years. But since I knew nothing about her, I didn't really get to feel anything. It's stories that they keep telling me about how she was such a hardworking woman, so I kind of like feel I would have been 10 times better if she was alive, but then I know that I'm supposed to play the cards that I'm dealt with life.
You're doing exceptionally well, so I'm sure she's proud.
How do you know that?
I'm sure she's proud.
I have, I don't know if I'm doing well, but I don't think so. I think life is such a bum.
You don't rate yourself, but you're doing well.
But, okay, you? How is it for you?
What do you mean?
What's your energy? What's your poison? What kills you?
Okay, that's What do you say to that?
I don't know.
What's your energy? What's your poison?
I meditate.
You
smoke some weed. I meditate a lot, so I get into personal moments where I understand my thoughts.
Okay. Yeah. For me, my poison then would be seeing impactful change based on what I do. Okay.
Impactful change.
Yes. Okay. Seeing seeing people connect with what I do, I think that for me is really, really huge. Okay. When someone reaches out and says that, oh my goodness, you say this and this and this and that, and I saw something, That to me gives me purpose every day. It gives me reason to wake up. Like recently, I received a DM from a fan actually.
Do you have fans?
Yeah, I have a good number of them.
You should start a podcast.
I got a really nice DM from this guy who said, he said, "Hey Faiza, apart from liking..."
What's this guy's name?
He's called Aura.
Yeah.
He said, "Hey Faiza, apart from liking the way you present, and also when you were telling Sise of that radio station that rejected you, but you never gave up Faiza, that shows, and the words you accompanied that story, with those few minutes really you inspired me, to be honest. And I want to be a radio presenter like you are."
How have you handled rejection? How do you handle rejection? Both job, relationship. Have you been rejected by a man or just the jobs? I've been rejected by a lot of my crushes.
Yes, I think everyone has been rejected at one point or the other, especially from jobs. I have been rejected by jobs, but I keep it moving.
Radio has rejected you before?
Yes, guys. I was rejected by a radio station.
KNUG.
Yeah, and that's okay because sometimes you're not the talent.
Radio City.
No, I want them. I want them the station. But here's the thing: you're not what they're looking for, and that's okay. You may not be what they're looking for right now, but you might become what they're looking for tomorrow, and that's fine. Okay. Today I work for a radio station that I've always admired, like always looked at and admired, and could possibly go.
You're saying that genuinely?
Yes, I listen to XFM.
And who was your best presenter on X?
I think for me it was KK.
My best as well.
Yes, I listen to KK so much.
Exceptional. KK has been in the studio before. He's supposed to come back for a conversation. KK is brilliant. I like him a lot. I fell in love with him on radio. I would agree.
So imagine the chance to be able to work in the same place, same sport.
Wait, you got a chance to work with him before you left?
No. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to. But I've listened to these people.
Next is doing that robbery thing. Will you go as well? Better opportunities. You said you're always up for better stuff.
I mean, they definitely offered better opportunity. Why not? Because I think that if you're the type of person who's career oriented, you always.
Is it just about that? Look at it in terms of legacy. There's this top show on again, one of the shows that inspires as to why I started a podcast is a show on CBS.
Yeah.
It's called Akalisoliso. It's in the same time your show plays. So because I grew up, the times my father was in the country, I had to ride along with him to go to work.
Yeah.
Now, because he's an African father, you have to listen to the stuff he's listening to by default.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know how other African fathers are, but his car is his car, so the radio in his car is his radio. So we'll put CBS. So you listen to CBS regardless of if you're 9 years of age, whether what you listen to that. But the show kept on interesting. It was fun. But I also listened to it over and over again. And I realized that the presenters were doing it for what it is, the show as it is, and it is all that matters. Yeah. Same thing with this podcast. I don't make a single shilling of it. People ask, a lot of people now are asking that because my other podcasts are getting out there. So maybe they're looking into the whole content creation. So I get people asking, big sponsors asking how they can come on board and what. But then because I don't want to change the product, I strictly want to keep it my terms. Okay. So that's putting it on hold. But just that, for the fact that I can just do this for the rest of my life is something to me. So to me, the goal is more like to have more conversations with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Conversations I can always look at. Okay, I also aim for the conversation is someone can listen in and they get it back. They learn something. They pick up something from you. Perspective is entirely you, the guest, yeah? I'm just supposed to help drive the conversation, but the whole perspective is on you. So just doing that, I have to mind about the business side, but podcasting also now has the whole other business section to it that's attached to it that's different. And I am now letting experts handle that, hiring other people with a team. So to deal with the business side and focus on just having the conversations. And to me, that's important. 20 years from now, I still want to be doing big conversations. And I don't want it to change. I don't want it to be, now I'm doing Fanta conversations because Fanta is giving me some money, something like that. I don't want that. Don't you feel like that's a better direction with also radio to like grow? Imagine like the Alex Ndaulas. Imagine you grew into that morning show until you are doing it. I don't want to say fat boy, but more like fat boy, where you can look back where you have edges of content, because you then don't have to run out of it. Same show, you're directing the same way, you're doing it over and over. It's like a whole legacy. It would be hard. I never listened to Sanyo again. And no shade to Salvador and whoever's doing it, but that was it. After Fatboy, that is all I wanted from Sanyo. Right now, I go back, maybe I listen to Timothy Code on the weekends, but the morning show was it for me with Fatboy.
Okay.
It meant a lot to me.
I don't think it's about how many years that Fatboy worked at Sanyo. I don't think it's about how long someone is at a certain workplace. It's what you bring to that workplace. It's what you do when you're on air. Okay, that is the thing that makes you unique. That's the thing that sets you apart. Okay, so even when you're looking at other people in radio, you're not looking at how long they've spent in a place. Yes, that's very important, because consistency at the end of the day is everything, even for a listener. You want people that even after 2 years to be able to tune in and enjoy the same way they enjoyed from the very first day you stepped in. But radio is not really about you spending years and years and years and years in the same place. It's being good at what you do and ensuring that each and every day you're growing and you're better at what you do. Okay, and if that better is taken elsewhere, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, because at the end of the day, you still it's you. It's what you do. Okay, it's there's something unique about you that sets you apart from any other radio presenter out there. And it's not about how long you.
When you look into the future of what could be radio, because right now there's Meta, right?
Yeah.
Facebook is not into the metaverse, and we will probably be able to have conversations with people from wherever they are, and they're not here. Now, radio, when you look at all these music apps, Apple Music, Spotify, they now channel their music. There's a playlist AI can put together according to your own personal interest. It probably sees through your text messages and just derives to that. If I get off sad in a conversation, it's very most likely that Spotify will recommend a heartbreak kind of music playlist for me to listen to. So then it puts your position very, very tricky. If my life projection 5 years from now, if my life, me, your daily customer who has been really in love with listening to you on radio, now has to be curated by an algorithm, like just my Twitter feed, that you know what, this is why I have to keep to that Twitter feed. I have to keep going back. Even when I decide to quit, you know, I've always wanted to quit Twitter. But even when I've really decided to quit, some guy comes and says, okay, I'm going to pay you, you have to throw a few tweets here and there, so you have to do it, like, okay, you go back to there. But the whole process to be automated, doesn't that scare you?
I don't think it
does. To start your own conversations?
I don't think so. Like I said at the start, what radio has to do is just evolve and adapt. Okay, you have to look at the current situation, the current environment you're in. You have to look at your target audience, how they've changed in the way they consume information and adapt.
But look at the power it gives you now, like Faiza on your show.
Yeah.
And the people, because now you mix radio, the fact that you have a lot of people listening into you, then a lot of people that follow your social media platforms, and they get to know that you present on radio. So you amass a lot of power in this time. Power that then you can directly control how much you earn for your input. Because when you look at the dynamics of just being a host to an organization, because a lot of people listen to a morning show because they're attached to the person, to the personality. I probably have to go to listen to XFM because Faiza's presenting. So it gives you so much power that you can eventually just turn this and have direct control of this power without a middleman.
I think that's wishful thinking.
Is it?
Yeah, what you're saying is a lot of wishful thinking. It's not bad, but it's a lot of wishful thinking. Radio doesn't work like that. It doesn't matter how big of a personality you are. If there's one thing you have to understand at the end of the day.
It does. Tina Fierce left.
Wait, if there's one thing you have to understand at the end of the day is that you're never bigger than the brand that you work for. If anything, that brand is bigger than who you are.
For real?
Because how many media personalities can you say that left where they were working and killed whatever they had left behind? Or that these companies no longer earn money?
No, but it's not about killing what you're leaving behind. It can actually run on as smoothly as it is. It's about the power you amass and then have direct control. You know, that's the other thing with Uganda music.
Yeah.
The artists don't have direct control on the music, yeah? A lot of their music is just out there because they feel like that's the best way to have their music out there. The hits and the shows, they'll get the shows, but it's not controlled. Once you don't have control, you don't have any power. Yeah? You're just there at, you're just one sick bed away from going back to zero. You're probably under a paycheck and it's really helping you survive life. But to me and what I think is ideal, that is not the best way to imagine life. The best way to imagine life is to think like Kanye West in this case, to think of having actual power, your own power, and you can grow this slowly by slowly. Once you grow it, because no matter how big you get, but once you're still under radio, you're still under radio. The radio, like you said, the brand is still bigger than you. But look at that as an advantage of just amassing so much power for yourself, which you have done right now. There are people who are now, like you said, your fans who are attached to you as the person. I want to listen to you. I don't care what she has done. I don't care what drama she is into or what. I'm just attached to her as a person. So you use that power and then have direct control on your opinion on life. Because now it's the business of making money out of opinions. People just have opinions, really.
You know,
even people.
That's great. You can do that, but probably not on air or not on radio. Radio is a very controlled environment. It's a carefully controlled environment because we speak to a mass audience. What you say to them has to be carefully, filtered or curated to ensure you're doing the right thing. What is ethical and what is factual as well. Now, whatever power or influence you're able to gain from radio can be used or channeled into other things. For example, a podcast can be channeled onto your social media. You start conversations there, and I think we've seen that for a lot of media personalities. Okay. The influence that they've managed to get off what they do in mainstream media, they tend to channel it towards social media, okay? Yeah. But on radio as well, it's great. People can definitely tune in specifically to listen to you because they want to hear your opinion. Because whatever you're saying, anyways, they've already heard it in the news, but they want to hear your opinion. That's great. They could be so attached to you. That's amazing. But like I said, you can't be bigger than the brand you work for. Even if you were to leave tomorrow, it would still survive. You will just live with those people who are attached to you and they will move to wherever you're going. Especially if where you're going still identifies with them and they relate to it.
What's your worst moment in life?
I think it would be recent when I lost my dad. I think that's the most recent, really, really hard moment that I went through.
Is it reflection, and do you think it's going to shape a lot of your life moving forward? The fact that it's going to change a lot of who you are as a person.
I don't think it gets to change a lot of who I am right now, but it definitely gets to change maybe with how I interact with people.
My worst moment was going through a heartbreak.
Oh, interesting.
About 6 years ago. And that changed the person I was and the person.
How did it change you?
Because then it defined, you see, I was so attached to my little family that I thought that was my whole world. I had detached from everything else, family, whatever. I didn't care about them. Not like they were present, they're cool people.
But you're giving your 100 to this person.
Yes, okay. 100. And they're probably giving their 100 to me. And I'm not taking sides, I'm just telling you that this is what it meant to me. And then it crashed away. So it informed my life from such a very interesting perspective that things can just fail.
Yeah.
And now that changed how I see life and what I pursue from life in general.
What exactly changed for you? Was it how you now deal with relationships?
How I deal with everything. To me, it was just not a relationship. It was part of my life.
Okay.
So that got broken, and then it changed how I pursue life in general. That's why I don't want to go back into employment, because then I don't want to be attached to a project and then I have to leave it at some point of life. That's so much changed. My perspective on life in general all completely changed. About what I think about women in general, I think that they victimize themselves a lot in a lot of issues. I feel like they've also hidden from us the fact that, how women really have the actual power in life, and they're saying they're under a patriarchy system, but they actually have the actual immense power. When you look at the people, look at our president, you definitely know that the first lady has more power than the president. There's always
how do you know that?
You know it because you see it. You see the actions.
You see it how?
Realistically, it doesn't have to be in the news, but you know who she is. I don't want to quote pieces of how she has put her authority, but yeah, she's a minister, even if she's not supposed to be.
That is again something that is very subject to debate.
But it is. But let's go back in time in 1970s.
There are a lot of women who hold positions where they actually hold just positions, like they are place holders, but they actually have no power or influence. They are very, very, very.
I think it's the men. Look at marriages. Okay. Do you know that women really control? Okay, I grew up seeing my dad and my mom. father is patriarchy system. Father is head of home.
Yes.
But you really see the influence of the mom in the home. That the mom is actually the actual power. Yeah, because if things go worse, children are most likely to say, I'm going to go with mommy. In this case, most cases, 80%.
Okay.
Yeah. So that shows you how much power a woman actually has. And one of the people that was on this podcast, Eddie, said the system made sure that they wanted to tax more people. So they presented it in a way that people should fight for rights to go and work. But what they were doing initially was still work. Staying and maintaining a home is work. Growing children is work. Cooking for people is work. You just have to look at it subjectively and know that maybe everyone has to play a different role. And my thought is why you get a baby and I don't get a baby.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
See?
Again, these are things that are really, really subject to debate.
But fairly.
And everyone has their own perspective. Everyone.
What's your perspective though on you've just talked about women holding power with that thing, but then don't you think they're favored a lot in society?
Under the movement of women empowerment, women do get favored in certain organizations or in certain sectors or in certain spheres. That goes without saying. But it doesn't mean that even if you actually are given a certain position, that means you actually get everything done or helped to get everything done. They could definitely open the door for you, but you will do the actual work of getting the work done. For example, there's a training I attended by Thomson Reuters Foundation, and while applying, I noticed, they said women or female applicants are highly encouraged, okay? And they were mostly looking, you could tell that they were trying to ensure that either there's gender balance or ensuring that women are given more opportunities here and there, and a global movement. And that's okay. And I applied and I got in. Whereas you might say that you've gotten in because of a certain favoring, but you're going to do the work. And the work, they will not cut it down for you and say, oh, okay, we're going to edit for you because you're a woman. No, you actually have to do the rest of the work by yourself. So women can, it goes without saying, and a global movement, we are favored here and there. But the actual work, we do it by ourselves, that you can actually, which is one thing that I always tell about people getting jobs, that you can help someone get a job. People demonize nepotism, but I can help you get a job because you're my friend, my cousin, my uncle. But when you enter the organization, it's you who's going to sustain yourself there. I'm not going to be there and say that, let him be.
Do you have relatives at Vision Group?
No, I don't.
You got on unmarried?
Unmarried.
Applied, auditioned, went on.
Yes.
Did one.
Yes. So,
there is a very beautiful woman, so there's that.
There's nothing. Beauty does nothing.
No. Really? Is that a conversation you think
I have seen, there's a time.
They do it for TV
and by the way,
radio.
There's a time someone dissed me on social media saying that my beauty is what guaranteed my entry into New Vision.
I know, you're radio. They just don't listen to your show.
Anyways.
Yeah, but it does not remove the fact that the stereotypes don't just arise from nowhere.
Especially for radio.
Yeah.
However beautiful you look.
Maybe, yeah, because for radio, the beauty
they don't care. They don't care because it's content that sustains people listening to you. It's never about how good you look. No one actually sees. You know how many people I've met who actually just have an idea of how I look like, and they're like, hey, this is how you look like. Or this is how, because in their mind they pictured you. I have met so many radio presenters that I used to listen to and had never seen. If you're a radio presenter, trust me, you're going to meet at least a couple of good people that listen to you but don't know how you look like. But you know that they listen to you every day. Okay? Maybe they even hear that this chick is pretty, or sister saying that, today you look nice, you're pretty, or what.
Do you have a pin on your tongue?
No.
Okay.
But they don't know how you look like. They've never ever seen how you look like. So that's the thing about radio. So you can never be hired based on looks. If there's any radio station that is hiring,
does TV hire based on looks? Sometimes.
Yes. For TV, I would certainly say yes. But they don't.
Do you think that's fair? Because content should sustain you.
I don't.
But looks bring on eyeballs. Human nature is different.
Saying whether it's fair is something again that is subject to debate. But TV is majorly aesthetics. It's what people see. Okay, so it has to be looking good. But you have to also ensure that it's a full package.
What's the definition?
It's not someone just looking good.
What's the definition of a good-looking woman? How can you tell that this woman is a good-looking woman in general?
I don't know.
I don't find Mona Lisa beautiful, but Jay-Z thinks, and that guy raps about things like that. So
a lot of people find certain women physically appealing and say she's very beautiful or very attractive. And again, that like they say, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So whereas you think that she's beautiful, other people don't think she's beautiful. Whereas other people may say I'm pretty, other people say, okay, she's just there. I see what Carino. So hey, but do
you get these comments? How do you feel about that stuff? Do you feel like does that shit get you down? Like, oh,
I'm not bothered. I'm not bothered at all.
At some point, people are telling me I to comb my hair on the podcast. I was like, really? Do I have to be like TV, makeup, what? Then people were coming up. Fashion gurus were telling me and my partner that, hey, let's dress you up. Then I was thinking, if now it gets to that, I'll lose the conversation. To me, that's the most important thing.
Unfortunately, TV is aesthetics. People actually
this is why I'm fighting TV.
You know, it's something that is also more or less in the line of branding for a media house or even anything that is going to be seen by a good number of people. What looks good is what attracts people. When you walk into a supermarket and you're buying a brand, say, of washing powder, you pick the one that looks the nicest, you know, it's the first one that attracts your eye. That's the same maybe mentality that is used by even media houses. Aesthetics are very important. But again, you must invest as much energy as well into the content itself, because that's what maintains people. You can have a beautiful chick, by the way, presenting news or something like that, but what maintains people is the actual content. Is it good enough? So whereas people actually have this stereotype that women are hired based on their looks in media houses, maybe yes, but they hire even beautiful women who are intelligent. No one is there by mistake, guys. No one is there by mistake.
What's your ideal type of a man you want to marry? What are you looking for in a man?
Okay. Everyone has a type, I think, but
What do people usually mean when they say my type? I never really believe, because you know,
there are qualities you want in your partner, the ones that you think, okay, for me it has definitely to be someone who's very hardworking, very ambitious like myself, because we have to be.
I do 50 push-ups every morning. Okay.
That's okay. You have to be someone who's very ambitious, just like myself. I want somebody who's very career-oriented, just like myself, because we have to be climbing a career ladder together. Because you have to understand.
Career-oriented means that I must have a job and I have to get promotions.
Whatever you do, that you see yourself getting, you have a picture of yourself ahead. We must have that together. Okay. Otherwise, I'm leaving you behind. And when I leave you behind, we're going to have issues ahead there. So
yeah, because usually women can't stay with men who they think are inferior to them, even if they genuinely love them.
I think that's a problem. It's a man problem.
It's a women problem.
It's a man ego problem. Men can't stand women who are better than them. That's just a fact. May not be a fact, but that's something I've come to see and realize and experience.
No, because women are looking for men that are better than them. No, women.
You're looking for someone maybe who challenges you. Maybe for other women for comfort. Okay. You're looking for someone who you can rely on for other women. But for other women, then it's someone who's challenging. And for you maybe to have a... for you to be able to have a relationship that doesn't have as much friction as possible, it is wise to, I think, get a partner who is maybe better than you in some ways than others. Because for men, it's a huge ego problem to have a woman who's better than them. And especially on the financial side, that rubs the wrong way for so many of you guys.
What challenges have you faced so far with your emotions?
Emotions, that sounds too broad. What do you mean?
Too broad. More like, I was watching a Netflix series that has been published. What's it called? Principles of Pleasure. And it's more about sex education, yeah?
Okay.
So they're teaching us, because a lot of us didn't get this sex education from the people who were around with. They were either very ignorant or they just didn't want to keep us in the loop about things that are actually very important. Because, you know how not getting orgasms affects how you perform at work? And people don't take that so lightly. That they think it's just about sex and what and leadership, but these are really important factors of life on how we're told that masturbation is a bad thing, but it's actually something that is needed. So for you, how have you been affected emotionally with life, with the society constructs that you've grown up knowing as a woman and what you've come to unlearn, probably because now you consume a lot of information and understand a lot of your things, understand your body better, understand men and women better, but then you feel like because this was such a big part of my growing up and my society, I could have been better. I could have been making my decisions better. Maybe, I'll tell you for a fact, I feel like I was so short-tempered because at some point maybe I used to get things because I had to ask, and even when I thought I was entitled to get them, I used to ask. So it grew up with me, but again, the heartbreak made me change my perspective on life.
Okay. For me personally, I'm very pathetic because maybe of where I've grown up, the situation in which I've grown up, I easily feel bad or feel sorry for people in certain situations that they can't control, or certain situations that are draining, bad situations that are putting them down. So that's one. The other thing is that emotionally, even though I'm very easy in opening up, I'm the type that doesn't really like to take help, even though there's nothing wrong with getting help every now and then. But one of the reasons why I'm very, very independent in the way I do my things is because, when you grow up, the environment in which I grew up affects that. I come from a very humble background. So for me, that's one of the reasons why I work so hard. And that's one of the reasons why I'm very, very guarded into who I let into my personal space. Because
what's your background? Where did you grow up from? Village?
I don't have a village.
Why don't you have a village?
I don't know. I'm a very town person. I grew up
in Kampala?
Yeah. So for me, it's different. But I'm just saying that I come from a humble background, and that has affected the way I think, the way I feel, the way I respond to situations, and the way I react as well. So I'm very pathetic in my ways, but at the same time, I'm also the type that guards my emotions very, very closely, because I don't just allow anyone in, and I'm the type that likes to do almost everything by myself.
Let's conclude with your legacy. What are you trying to leave behind?
What I'm trying to leave behind. I think that's something that even changes as I go along, but there's one thing that I wanted to change or leave behind is that, one, I want to change the way people think about certain things, especially about women in workplaces. I want to change that so much, women in relationships. So I want to change how people think or perceive certain situations, all right? And for me, that's very important. And I want to be able to create impact. That's why I want to create impactful change out there. And I think that's the legacy I want to leave behind. But again, that evolves as I go along.
Wait, before that, I want to ask you about what you think about marriage. That was what ran out of my head. What do you think about marriage?
What do I think about marriage?
Do you think it's important?
Oh yeah, everyone wants.
Won't it affect because you're a career person?
No. If you get someone who thinks just like you and understands the kind of person you are and appreciates that person, then why not? Marriage would not be a hard thing. Okay, otherwise Jay-Z and Beyonce wouldn't be here.
They have money.
These are both hustling people. I mean, yeah, they have money, but these are both career.
Elon Musk divorced. But people divorce, by the way.
They don't divorce because.
Don't you think Beyonce and Jay-Z are still together because they have to protect the black legacy
I don't think so. Maybe not. You never know. But for me, marriage, I definitely want a life partner. Sometimes they are ahead.
Is cheating a deal breaker to you?
Oh yeah.
Don't you think that's something?
Although I have said before that cheating is a deal breaker, but I used to say that, and I think many people who say cheating is a deal breaker are people who have either experienced or been in a situation where cheating has happened before. And
have you cheated before on
no,
your partner?
No.
Are you saying that because you're on camera?
Not even just because I'm on camera. I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
How you deal with those situations actually determines where you think whether
you're like lover. You like someone and be there.
Until you've experienced these situations, you really won't know if it's a deal breaker for you. But I would say that for me, after having experienced something like that, it's a deal breaker for me. It means
you've had a partner that has cheated on you.
Yeah, it means that
it
means that you just don't value or respect me or want me. Okay, I'm not a priority in your life, and if I'm not that, then it is what it is. We have to keep it moving.
So you are telling me about marriage in general?
Yeah, marriage is something that I also want. I think I'm every other girl. I want kids, I want a family, I want a husband. Sometime in the future, I definitely want all that is pictured out there.
In the movies?
In the
your
movies,
husband comes back, then you go and kiss him, and go back
in the movies,
it's always really, really beautiful. The travels, the what, until the love dies out, because then you can't avoid that.
I don't think love dies out.
It does.
I don't
think
think
would still not be breaking up with people.
There's a lady I follow on social media who's I don't think she's a marriage counselor, but she's married and she's been married for some time. And she says in marriage there are two kinds of love. There's a passionate love and there's intentional love. Okay, there are definitely going to be times when you passionate love, the levels go down.
Yeah.
That's when you have intentional love that keeps things stable.
Well, what is intentional love?
Intentional love is when you do things for your partner that you've always done, even on the days that you don't feel like doing them.
It's like a routine.
Yes, whether a routine or what, you go out of your way to do things that even when you don't feel like doing them. If, for example, if you see they are down but you're also down and you say, no, let me do something for them, that's intentional love.
Is that unconditional love?
Yes, there's that I think exists for parents, for your parents.
They don't. Do you know that a lot of parents don't love their children? And that's a conversation we are supposed to have as humans, and we get to suffer it as children when we grow up. And not to me though. I don't know. I don't really want to. This is not about my parents, but I have realized that I've seen children. Actually, my dad talks about the fact that the mom doesn't love him, and he publicly says it. But I've seen it happen a lot of siblings, uncles, what not. See that mostly like kids who are not like born off marriages. Guys had the woman, then moved on in his life and what, and then probably that was his worst time in life, and they have such bad memories attached to the child's pregnancy, or a woman who has such a bad memory attached to the child's pregnancy. They can't hate them. A lot of mothers hate their firstborns. Genuinely, not like hate is supposed to be like I'm supposed to pour hot water or acid on your face, but you really see it that the love is not really there. It's like a burden, like you're their child.
I mean, there are people. I've seen those situations and I've heard about them, but I haven't experienced something like that. For me, the love between me and my parents has been unconditional. So I can only speak for what I have experienced and not what maybe I've seen other people experience, because whereas you've seen it, you haven't really been in there. You can't really tell what's happening until it's happening to you so much.
Okay. Do you think I have skipped anything you'd want to address?
No. You're the host here, so you certainly drive the conversation and decide what you want us to dive into.
Music. How do you pick? What informs your music taste? What music are you into?
My personal music taste?
Personal music taste.
I don't have genres of music that I listen to specifically. I don't even have maybe a category of music that I listen to. For me, I have very simple statement that says that if it sounds good, it's good music. So if I showed you my music playlist, you'd see it's very random. Okay.
How random? You have music.
It could even be a song that is old and it's on my playlist right now. It's like on my replay right now. For example. Do you like genres? Go through your playlist. For example, if I show you my top 5 songs right now, you'll be surprised because some of these songs are very, very old songs, but they're on my replay right now because I heard them and I was like, oh man, this is a good song. For example, I have DJ Khaled with Justin Bieber, I'm the One. I Want It That Way by Backstreet Boys. I missed the old Kanye, but this was an adaptation I think from TikTok, but I really like the sound. And
are you a Kanye West fan?
Not really, but I like
Why
his
not?
music.
What?
There's liking an artist's music, but not maybe liking the person themselves.
That is a conversation I usually have with people around Chameleon. You know, Chameleon has this tainted character on him that he's such a chaotic human being, of which I've been in scenarios with him and he's been chaotic.
Okay.
Like any other human being who loses their temper. But then the fact that he's Chameleon gives him some leverage to society. You know why? Chameleon has spoken to souls for generations. It doesn't say that he should be a bad person, but I'm saying his mistakes should be at some point excused.
You think so?
Yes. Because like radio too had the weird character around him. But because then he was radio, no one sings like he does. No one speaks to, so you don't do that. You don't do what Chameleon does. You don't do what Kanye West does. Kanye West speaks to. And by speaking, I'm meaning, you know, like how you've lost your dad and you need to get through it, like day by day. The people who have to listen to a Chameleon song day by day to beat something like that, to listen to radio. People who have gone through heartbreaks. There's a friend of mine. She was in the podcast.
You think that
yesterday.
excuses their behavior?
The human beings, it excuses us from judging their behavior. You know, there's no really good or bad.
I mean,
they'll tell you shit about Carol at
really,
some point because that's what they want to believe. But then you'll find...
No, you can't equate a situation of someone losing a loved one and how they've acted afterwards to someone who is acting a certain way, maybe because of their stature or the position they hold in society or because of their career.
Why don't you like Kanye West?
I have nothing against him. I just don't vibe with the personality themselves. I mean, I don't see anything relatable for me to vibe with. But I think the music is really good.
What's your best Kanye song?
Maybe the one on my replay right now. I miss the old Kanye. But again, like I said, that's just an adaptation from, I think, some of his music.
Yeah.
I just don't vibe with the personality. There's nothing maybe bad about them or anything like that. I just don't vibe with them. But I like the music. Yeah.
You are 2 songs in.
Oh yeah. Then I have "You Belong with Me" by Taylor Swift, and I have "When Scars Become Art" and Ayasta with Sari. So even Oxlade with Ojuju. So my music is really...
I want to marry Ayasta. I really do.
Okay, that's
the only one time I want to fall in love again with Ayasta. And it's more like it's a fantasy, but I believe I can achieve it.
You think?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, have you ever tried DMing her?
Yeah, she has even replied my tweets, even on Twitter. But then that's the delusion of the fact that she is such a big superstar. Now, like you, do you think a random crush, like let's say Albert, do you think he has hopes on?
You think Albert crushes on me? Albert has you guys really thinking that.
Why wouldn't you believe that? Because it's your friend.
I think Albert is always just joking around. I don't think Albert is serious.
Don't you know that the guys that really, really genuinely like you will joke about it?
About it?
You know, emotions are really weird. You don't want to... Also, the fear of rejection is big.
Really? Have you seen Albert?
I'll tell you for a fact that this one girl I've always had a crush on. I even got in chances, met her, took pictures of her, did a photo shoot on her. But I realized that was the deal breaker, the meeting. The now getting to her killed everything. My emotions. It was better when it was through the phone. When I just see Instagram pictures, when I just text and...
Yeah.
But the interactions now brought a whole cloud on my mind, which was weird. Yes, something like that. So, what are the chances that an ordinary person, like the people that watch my podcast, will get to, first things first, a date with their radio host crush?
Of course, it's possible. I think it's very. I'm a very, very welcoming person. I'm very friendly and social. So if someone reached out to me and said hello to me and they asked me out, I probably would say yes, definitely. Sometimes if I say no, I could be a bit worried about not leading someone on, because oftentimes I've discovered when you say yes to even a friendly catch up, you could be leading someone on. You're giving someone hope that you may not, that may not lead to anything. So I'm very, very wary of leading anyone on. But yeah, if someone reached out, you never know, it could happen.
Okay. I have helped them at least reach their first steps. Now they know that they can reach out. Well, at least. Something I skipped in my mind. You're an influencer. Do you have a red card?
That is something that is in the works, because the influencer was at the start of influencing.
When did you start influencing?
Over a year ago, about a year and maybe about a year and a half ago. So the influencer I was then is certainly not the influencer that I am right now. My value has changed, it has grown. So it is something that is in the works. And
yesterday's price is not.
Yeah, certainly not. When I started, like I said, when I started doing it, it was just a fun thing, and because I realized people were actually getting paid, so I said, okay, let me try this out because it looks fun. You may just be paid to share information.
I have a podcast. It's a Ghetto Boys podcast. It's called Edovosidio Monkwelo, loosely translated as Voice for the Youth in the Ghetto. I want to push this podcast out, but I want to push it to a market like yours.
Okay, so we have a similar target audience.
Yeah, but it's a voice for the voiceless. When you look at its content, it's boys from the ghetto struggling with drugs and they're speaking about their experiences. But then because I want to target people who like listen to you and follow you on social media, how would you push that as an influencer? How would you put that out there? Do you come up with a strategy, and how does that work? What do I pay for?
It highly depends on the client.
I am the client now, and I've given you my project.
Yeah, you've shared with me. Are you giving me content, ready-made content that you just want me to put out there, or you'd want me to engage with this content and find ways that...
Well, I have... It's a YouTube channel that also has a TikTok, so I want it to grow, but then I want to raise awareness to the channel about the content of the channel, because I also believe once people watch this content, they're going to help these children. Yeah, besides just putting them out there, it's also like a cry to help to them. They're talking about their experiences, what made them go to the ghetto, what they've suffered with their parents, what they're dealing with, the drugs and all that stuff.
Yeah. You can always develop a strategy for that, you know, something that, a social media strategy that works for your YouTube channel and how you want the content to be put out there. Because you say that you don't want someone to just share the content as it is. You want maybe to create more engaging ways for it. So it's about maybe sometimes sitting down with the client and deciding what strategy will work best for them and what they approve or do not approve of.
So why don't you have a rate card? Like, you know what, I charge, because now that informs, I charge this for this. That informs me as a client to understand.
I mean, I don't have, like I said, the rate card that I had no longer works for who I am right now. But for projects that are long term and carry through maybe a month, I normally don't work below $1 million. But yeah, I think that's like a ceiling, or like a, you know, that I don't go below, like a floor price that I wouldn't go under if it carries over a month. But yeah, it at the end of the day, it's flexible. My record is flexible based on the KPIs of the client, what they want, their strategies, and everything like that.
Okay, let's conclude with this. What goal are you looking at achieving this year, personal basis? It would be something as easy as I want to learn how to play piano, but that's my goal. That's my actual goal for this year. I want to be very good at playing the piano.
That's nice.
There's a scene in Hard Target I used to watch from this guy is called Lance Hendrickson. So he played the piano, and then it was crazy. I liked it.
Yeah. For me, my goal this year, I actually have two. One, I want to build a more consistent brand online, and that's also in the works. The other goal that I really, really want to work on this year is I want to set up my bakery and have it in a physical location where people can come through. So those are two things that I want to work on this year. And I'm also thinking I'm also learning French.
How are you going to set up this bakery? You have been saving up to
Yeah, I have been saving up, but
or getting a business loan. There are a lot of fintechs giving people
loans. Those are all options I'm considering. But yeah, I want for it to have a physical location this year. So hopefully by the end of the year, I want to see that come to fruition.
So right now your time is divided mostly between radio, influencing, and bakery.
Yes.
You actually go and bake. Really?
Yeah. I do. I very much do so by myself. So
I want to do a cooking show. I really do.
You should do that. Why not?
I don't know. I don't know how to cook. I want to get
this could be you learning how to cook.
But I want to be to that level of Chef Ramsay with Hell's Kitchen or whatever he does with his shows.
You just have to start. I think the starting point is important.
Have you watched his cooking shows?
I have watched
Hell's Kitchen.
No, I've watched him on is it America or is it Australia's MasterChef? I've watched him on MasterChef, and I think it's very good. You just have to start. Once you start, I mean, even with
you're not just a baker. You can also cook. Actually.
Oh yeah, I definitely
make me a croissant, stuff like that, all that stuff.
Oh yeah, it's very possible. everything you want to learn how to cook, you can, even if you don't have the initial information on how to go about it, you can learn. You can just learn. You can learn online. You can learn with the culinary.
How do I then put in the salt without just measuring it off my eyes? Because all the time
when you're learning, they don't do that. You don't measure off your eyes. That is something for experienced chefs. When you're learning, you measure using teaspoons or tablespoons or their measurements when they're teaching you, actual measurements. Okay. Just like how with baking, there are actual measurements for everything you're going to put in. There's no guesswork.
Interesting.
So if you're learning, just know that they will carefully make sure that you're not doing any mistakes along the way. You're not guessworking anything. You're not assuming that, okay, maybe I should put this much. No.
Okay, let's finish. How has this conversation made you feel?
It's been good. It's been a very interesting conversation, opening up and sharing so much. So yeah, it's been really good.
Start a podcast. I think you need to. You really have to start a podcast.
Maybe something.
I can give you a deal like that.
Maybe something in the future, but not now.
You're working on a channel?
Yeah, there's a lot that I have on my plate right now, so I want to take it a step at a time.
Okay, thank you.
Right.